Hey girl, so glad that you tuned in. My name's Bethany, and this is the Make Up Your Mind channel. You're listening to episode number 5. Whether you're actually putting on your makeup, maybe you're getting ready for work or school at home today, maybe you're in the coffee drive-thru or just taking it chill. No matter where life finds you, I hope that you remember that there are people in the world that are for you, cheering you on to succeed. Today, I hope I can be one of those people standing on the sideline of your life, reminding you to make up your mind about all the small decisions that you make all day long that add up to big things later on. Today's episode title is called Conflict in Relationships. So let's get to it. Today, we are going to talk about an amazing skin moisturizer. I actually think it's more of a mask, but I'm using it kind of like it's a moisturizer. It is by Fab Pharma, and it's a relief and rescue mask. This is just a sample that I got in my Ipsy subscription that I've talked to you guys about. It is fantastic. It goes on, and it's kind of like a clear mask. Do it over freshly clean skin. I like to do it at night and then let it stay overnight. Your skin just eats it up, and you feel really fresh in the next morning when you wake up. You can get this on Amazon. You can also get it at Sephora and Ulta. It's just a lot of fun if you're going to do a sleepover or if you just feel like your skin's really dry. It's a good time to do it at the end of summer. It's $8 for a sample size like this, so it is a little bit on the pricey side, but it is fun and it feels great on your skin. Now for the real talk. Conflict happens. The definition of conflict is a serious disagreement or argument, a clash. You have conflict with your parents, with your guardian, with your significant other, with your friends, with your siblings, pretty much with anyone. You can have it with the person that you're driving behind on the freeway who's driving way too slow. Conflict just happens. I used to think that a good friendship meant no conflict or disagreement ever. I read a scripture one time in the Bible that said, if it's in your power, be at peace with everyone. Or another translation says, if you've got it in you, get along with everybody. I thought that conflict in a relationship meant you actually were a bad person. I thought you were actually a better person if you had no conflict. I thought that there should be absolutely no clash of opinions or interests, no fighting at all. I had a student over at our house one time, and she was just chatting with me, and we were hanging out in the kitchen cooking or something. And I remember that she told me that she never wanted to get married because she never wanted to be as unhappy as her parents were, fighting all the time. She said they would fight every single night. I know there's some of you that have grown up in families like that. There's some of you that haven't and haven't experienced that conflict. That was how I grew up. But I know that more often than not, at home, there's a lot of conflict that happens. Conflict is really hard. No matter if it's you having the conflict or someone else that affects you, it's just not easy. But I'm going to say something that might completely shock you today. Conflict can be healthy. I know. It's hard to even believe, but we're going to have a conversation today that will hopefully start to help you to understand how to have healthy conflict and to stay away from unhealthy conflict. Before I really get into this, I do just want to clarify, like I said earlier, not all conflict is healthy. Humans don't do conflict well, and so probably I would guess most of the conflict that you've experienced was somewhat unhealthy. When we think of conflict, we think of fighting, we think of slamming doors, we think of yelling and shouting. Sometimes we think of my side is the right side and their side is the wrong side. It's just all hurtful and a lot of pain. That's how we view conflict. Sometimes there can even be abuse that happens. And I just want to say that if that's the case, that conflict is just not going to be healthy. And I would recommend that if you're in a situation where you're being abused, that you find some help from somebody that you can trust and remove yourself from that situation. But none of those things that I listed, the fighting, the shouting, the arguing, the slamming doors, none of those are actually healthy ways to do conflict. The thing is that no matter what setting you're in, conflict is just hard. I've had my set of conflicts throughout the years, and I just want to let you know that when I'm talking about this, I don't know all the right things, but I have learned some things. I've had lots of conflicts in friendships, in pretty much all my relationships, even in my marriage. But through all of that, I dedicated myself to trying to find ways to have healthy conflict. because I know that it's possible and I want to lead the way and be an example in that. So, over the next couple of minutes, I want to just take some time to give you a couple of steps, really practical things that you can do if you find yourself in a lot of conflict regularly. These are some things I've learned and I just want to pass them on to you. First step, number 1, take a breath. Take a pause. If you're right in the middle of an angry, heated conflict, a fight, a debate, chances are that you are not thinking rationally. We're going to have a quick science lesson really fast. Something I've been learning about is how in our brain, we actually have part of our brain that's called our limbic system. And in a moment where it's fight or flight, where our body feels like we're in trouble or we're in danger, which is usually during a conflict, our brain switches over to our limbic system. This is where all of our emotions happen. This is actually where our memories come from, which is really interesting that it's in the same place as our emotions. What happens when we switch over into that part of our brain, we are no longer making rational decisions. So we can start yelling, we can start getting heated. You can feel it inside of you when it happens. I know that there's been moments where you've been in an argument and it's like a switch happens and you get defensive, you get tunnel vision, sometimes you get sweaty, you get flustered, sometimes you want to run away. All of those feelings means you have switched over into that limbic system. And you know what? It is hard to make good choices in conflict when you're operating there. So that's why I say, if it's at all possible, take a pause, take a breath. Say to the other person, hey, I just need a few minutes to cool off. And get away and start to think and let your rational brain come back online. Chances are the other person needs that as well because they're probably also operating in their limbic system. And you're just going to end up hurting each other more if you aren't able to have a cooled off conversation by having that rational brain, your frontal lobe, get back online. Oh, and P.S., if you're having this argument via your phone, via your thumbs, am I right? That's what happened to all of us. If it might be on Facebook, it might be on text, it might be on Messenger, whatever it's on. You should always wait 24 hours. If you get that message, that DM, and it makes you feel like there's a mini fire inside of your heart, I think it's probably best for you to just leave her on red, leave him on red for just a little while. Give yourself time and space to cool off. If you like, you can type out a response, but don't send it. Wait at least 24 hours. This has even happened to me fairly recently. And I can tell you what, it helps so much. If you just take a pause and say, hey, no, I'm actually not going to have this argument via my thumbs. Way too many friendships have been lost because we irrationally type things that we don't really mean. Step number 2, after you've taken a pause, taken a breath, think about what the other person is actually saying. Sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes we only hear what we think they're saying. So take a pause and go, where is that person coming from? Sometimes it even helps me to look at the other person's life, where they've come from, their history, their relationships that they've been a part of, and possibly even the hurt that they might be carrying in their heart. A lot of the time, that will inform me on why they are reacting the way they're reacting to a given situation. If you do that, a lot of the time it's going to give you a lot more compassion for that other person, and you'll be able to respond more humbly and more graciously to what they're saying. It gives you insight to what they're actually saying in this argument. 9 times out of 10, this conflict is usually just a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. If you are a big enough person to take the time to humbly think through where this other person might come from, it will usually dissipate the argument. And it's amazing because it allows them to actually come to you in a place of humility as well and actually have a productive conversation. Number 3 is take a look at yourself. We've done this, we talk about this almost every week, but honestly, take a look at yourself and what you brought to the conflict. Where have you hurt the other person? What things have you said that have actually contributed to the conflict? Because most of the time, it's not a one-sided problem, it's both sides contributing to the conflict. Come on, girl, you just gotta retract your claws for a second and be big enough to look into yourself and own the things that you've done. Make sure that you're seeing yourself in light of the things that you've said, really and truly. Own up to where you've been wrong. P.S. This doesn't usually happen in the middle of the fight. This is another reason for you to take that break that I was telling you to do. Because when you're in the limbic system, there is no way for you to really see yourself as wrong. So you really do need to take that break so that you can take a pause and really have time to look at yourself. And I'm just going to say, if it truly is a situation where you're never going to see eye to eye with the other person, no matter how hard you work to resolve the conflict, you are allowed to gently let that person go in relationship. And I say gently. Always be willing to re-extend your hand in love towards another person. Always be willing. Don't ever fully burn the bridge. And I say that because there are some people in the world that are just not going to want to resolve. Some people, the issue is more important than your relationship. But as my husband always says, let's make the issue, not the person the issue. He always says, let's put the issue on the table and stop pointing our fingers at each other, but point our fingers at the issue and figure out what it really is. The best part is that when you are able to resolve a conflict with your girlfriend, with your mom, whoever it's with, the best part is that your relationship usually grows on the other side. And it's actually beautiful, and it actually feels really good to walk through hard stuff. What it says to the other person is that you're willing to stick with them, even if you disagree. Even if you have to walk through hard stuff, it says that you're in it for them. It says you're in it with them. It says to them that you're actually being honest with them and that you're willing to wrestle it out. And that's why I say that conflict can sometimes be healthy. For the most part, a lot of my conflicts, mostly with my husband, but also with friends and with my siblings and with my parents, on the other side of our conflicts, we've all seen our relationships grow. And it's beautiful. Anytime I get into a conflict with someone in my life, I try my best to take a break, take a pause, get my rational brain back online. I try to see it from their perspective with a lens of love for them because I really truly do love that person. I then try and look at myself and see how I might have hurt them and why I might have stirred up some of this conflict. And then I try to restore relationship. I try to reconcile, which means to bring two friends back together and make it right between them. And I know there's probably a lot of holes. I'm being really general on the topic of conflict right now. There's a lot of holes in what I'm talking to you about today. So if you do have any questions about this, please reach out to me and DM me your questions because I'd love to talk with you one-on-one. Every single conflict is different, just like every single relationship is different. It's not a fix-all thing, but I do want to share these steps with you because I do think that they're beneficial and we owe it to the world to do conflict better. In our friendships, wouldn't it be amazing to see our conflicts make us healthier? It would make Jesus glorified in the world, and it would make him more known to others to watch Christians doing conflict well amongst each other. I'm going to take a quick moment just at the end of this episode to read you a scripture that I really feel like goes with this topic. It's out of Romans 12, and I just think it's really beautiful. So just take a moment to allow this to go into your heart. Close your eyes if you can, wherever you are, just take a pause and allow the words of the Lord to go deep into your heart today. This is Romans 12, verse 9 through 19. Love from the center of who you are. Don't fake it. Run for dear life from evil. Hold on for dear life to good. Be friends who love deeply. Practice playing second fiddle. Bless your enemies. No cursing under your breath. Laugh with your happy friends when they're happy and share tears when they're down. Get along with each other. Don't be stuck up. Make friends with nobodies. Don't be the great somebody. Don't hit back. Discover beauty in everyone. If you've got it in you, get along with everybody. Don't insist on getting even. That's not for you to do. I'll do the judging, says God. I'll take care of it. Jesus, thank you so much for your words to us today. Thank you that you're with us in the good times in our relationships as well as the hard times and the conflict. Lord, help us to resolve those things well and in a healthy way. God, we ask that our relationships, our friendships, our relationships with our parents, teachers, authorities, friends, significant others, whoever it might be, God, that those relationships would grow. we give them to you today. Help us to be your ambassadors in this world. We love you. Well, my ladies, it was a pleasure once again to get to chat with you this Monday morning. I hope and I pray that you know that you're loved and that you're seen and that you are valuable. Next week, I've got some more on conflict in relationships. We're gonna talk a lot more. Again, like I said, if you have questions, please DM me. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. I'm so happy that you joined me. I'll catch you later.